I posted a long time ago about the Golan Heights and how they found oil. I put the newspaper clipping in there, showed you the article and the whole 9 yards. Um, but nothing was never said about it. It's not talked about whatsoever. I also talked about Russia. For a lot of people that don't know, on the west side of Jerusalem, they do have a big Russian compound prison type thing. Why? I do not know. What their affiliation is with Israel, I do not know. We do know that a lot of the converts of the Orthodox religion and stuff come from that area, and when they converted, they moved from the Zion Mountains, all this stuff, into Russia for 500 years. So I don't know what the ties is and what's that about either, but a lot of people don't know that. With the stuff and the fighting that's going on in the Golan Heights, we see that in the books and Revelations, it talks about Megiddo and all this other stuff. And Megiddo and Golan Heights, you might as well say, are 45 miles from each other, but if you're warring, you might as well put them both together. All right? If country were to war, like we're seeing what's going on over the fighting over Golan Heights, because we don't know what it's for. We know that if you look at my past postings, that it was stated that oil was found there, which border Israel, just Golan Heights and Syria and all this other stuff. Now, while all this is going on, we see that the President Obama goes and he makes visits. England, Germany, you know, and all these other places to talk to everybody. On the outside, we always know one thing, but on the inside, to meet all these important people and have talks, then come back, and on the way back, F-22 fighter jets are set to Romania in the Black Sea. When he gets back, and after the jets are sent out there, the White House goes on lockdown. So we need to pay attention to these things. We need to pay attention to what Scripture is saying, and then look at the characteristics spiritually of how the world is moving and what is going on top of, you know, the climate change and everything else. We still can hold fast spiritually and have faith, but look at what's going on. Because the world has been separated through financial gain, processing assets through the t.p.p. Now, during this whole time, we see that Russia has also made a pact with China, and we see that China's dollar is equal to America's, and they're going back and forth. Now, during all this time, we used to hear a lot about China and the aggression and the war and the whole 9 yards, but we don't hear about them anymore. Not even with the islands that they so-called legally built in international waters. Why? Because in the past, they realized that anytime they warred and went to war, it was always this direction that they've gotten beaten because they didn't have any protection over there. So if they're building protection over there, they must be getting ready for war. So what is going on? I don't know what's going on, but we need to pay attention. We need to pay attention that America makes a lot of money, all right, and carries a lot of its billionaires and corporations and business people within its borders, and they make a lot of money off of the sale of weapons, a lot of it. They don't care what country or group, they make a lot of money off of it. They're not going to give them the best of the best, but they're going to make money off of it, okay? So if they're economically making money off of these weapons and youth, and they're choking Russia, cutting them off, all right, with sanctions and the whole 9 yards, letting them use up their assets. And if you know anything about economical, once you use up a lot of assets for war, you have to dig back in your piggy bank to come back up with more weapons and more defense and all this other stuff. So that's either going to drain from your allies or your partners or within your people in the country. Something's going to have to give because you've been cut off from receiving certain stuff that puts an interest in the revenue in your pockets. Dost thou, which we seen in World War I and II, cut the banks off, cut this off, Hitler got mad, and that's when all this stuff happened, because they cut the funding off after draining the country dry. So this is an ongoing thing. It seemed like a repetitive action and characteristic. So pay attention to everything that's going on, all right, in the world and how it's all added up, because you're not going to always get the full truth. But if we look at the word and we hold fast to everything, then we'll know we're going to be okay. But, you know, seems like there's just a lot of trouble brewing and between a lot of things, and nobody's getting the whole truth or putting that whole picture together.